You sure? Whenever you're ready, Ben.
Yeah, okay, so I'll go through your introductions and I'll press record and put myself off on mute. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, everybody. My name's Neil Cole. I'm a service user rep for Inspire CGL Lancashire, based at Accrington. My colleague will introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Dave Lamb. I'm a service user rep for Pendle for Inspire CGL East Lancs.
Thanks, Dave. Today we're going to interview our esteemed colleague, the legend that is Dr. Andy Lane. Do you want to introduce yourself, please, Andy?
I will do indeed. Good morning to everybody, and thank you for the invitation. I'm Dr. Andy Lane. I'm the clinical lead for East Lancashire. Have far too many years experience in substance misuse and loved every single moment of it.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Andy. So we've got a series of questions to find out not just what you do, but who you are as a person as well. So if you want, Dave, and I'm going to ask about your job to start with. So can you explain to us what a clinical lead does?
At the moment, I am the main doctor covering East Lancashire, which has 3 sites, Pendle and Ribble Valley, Burnley and Accrington. And my role essentially is to keep all the service users safe. That might sound a really bizarre answer, and I'm not trying to in any way exaggerate my role, but what I do is I have 2 roles. I have a role which is directly service user friendly, and I have a role which is very much in the managerial side, working with other managers to make sure that the business side of what we do is risk averse and safe. Now, the service user side is very much dependent on prescribing, physical reviews, mental health reviews, ensuring that we can achieve the best well-being for each individual client, whether that's with or without a prescription, whether that's with vaccinations, whether it's with naloxone, and you're all familiar with this sort of route. And very often, especially in the current climate, this actually is quite busy. But I hope that we achieve a good standard of quality treatment, and the feedback I'm getting has been pretty positive. My other side of the role is to manage the other prescribers, who in this case, we have one GP who works in Accrington, and she does 1 day a week, the lovely Emma Harding, and we have 3 NMPs who are non-medical prescribing nurses. These are nurses who are trained to prescribe, so they're sort of super nurses, and they essentially run the background of everything that we do. I manage them, I supervise them, but I also work with Rachel Taylor, Dave Lucas, Pauline Burnham, who are the leads for the business side, making sure that what we're doing is effective, safe and appropriate. Was that too long?
Oh, that was amazing. That was brilliant. Thank you. That was great, Dave. What I would like to ask you, Andy, is what made you become a lead clinician? So what motivated you to work in substance misuse?
I'll take you back a bit. I qualified in nearly 38 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That in no way gives away my age. And I started off with anaesthetics in Wigan Hospital, became an anaesthetist, then started working in A&E as one of the anaesthetists working with the intensive care unit. Got a bit fed up with that and became a GP. Now, this was in the mid-80s, and as a GP then, I had no socks, sandals, long hair, quite often in a ponytail, and at that time that seemed to attract a group of people who I had no experience of, but suddenly found quite a warm relationship with, much to the horror of my partners in general practice. And I started doing shared care. And that introduced me to the addiction side, the dependent side, and the complexities of what that involves, both socially and physically. Now, people who work in substance misuse very often have had personal or social experience of problems related to this. And I think understanding from family members and friends issues has given me an insight into why I understand where people are coming from. And it's gone on from there. I gave up general practice in 2000 because my partners couldn't stand the people I was treating. And unfortunately, that's still the case.
Really?
It's getting better.
Yeah.
There is a fear of, in general practice, of everybody who is seen to have a problem with substances, whatever, is trying to get more.
Yeah.
And the consequences of that is actually they don't get treated properly for what is wrong with them. So you've got all the other issues of poor health related to life, but because they only see the problems with potential substance misuse, there's very few doctors out there who actually do understand, and those that do are absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, just to cut in there, I've kind of noticed that because I've been around services for too long, probably as long as you've been a doctor. And I'd like to say that attitudes seem to have changed.
It improved dramatically.
Yeah.
In the old school, but see, the old school treatment was all about a script, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Get your script and come back in 2 weeks. So there's been a massive improvement. But when I first started, I think there was a lack of understanding, and do you know what? A lot of doctors did struggle with understanding people with dependence. They didn't know what to do. There was no training.
No.
At all, ever, at that stage. So it was very much winging it, which I did. I then went back to university in Leeds and did a postgrad diploma in addiction studies just to find out more about it. And hence I'm here.
Wow, thanks for that, Andy. That was, yeah, that's good to know a bit of background as to, I had no idea you were an anaesthetist. I knew you'd been a GP, but I had no idea you were an anaesthetist.
I was an anaesthetist, yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. I'll hand you over to our Dave.
Yeah, thanks for that, Nina. That was interesting to kind of get an insight into why you do what you do. This next question, or the next set of questions, is who is Andy Lane the person? So things like likes, dislikes, any hobbies, and any special talents.
Wow. This is where I have to be really careful.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm the eldest of 5 children, and sort of led the way. Obviously, my parents are now deceased, and one of my brothers. So I have 2 sisters and a brother, and we're in constant contact, which is lovely. I myself have 5 children, 4 girls and a boy, twins, they're all adult, and 4 grandsons, who are absolutely as bonkers as their parents. So there's a big family out there that, yeah, keep us grounded, really. Hobbies, I've just bought another second-hand motorbike. I'm passionate about motorbikes.
Okay.
And 25 years ago, I took my test and thought I'm either going to kill myself or do it properly. So trained up and became an instructor for the Institute of Advanced Motorcyclists.
Oh, excellent.
So did it properly and had a couple of years off and had a blowout on the motorway, which I thought, oh, I've had enough of this. But I've just bought a 1300 Yamaha.
Very nice.
Just to tickle to the chops on, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
My other passion is sailing. You know, when you sort of walk past the lakes on a nice sunny Sunday afternoon, you see all these little boats out on the lake. Well, I used to do. The problem was I never won a race, and spent more time in the water trying to get back in the boat. But it was good fun. At the moment, don't watch TV. I usually fall asleep. But I do like reading, so most evenings I'll sit and read or potter in the garden if it's nice. But motorbikes, I'll be on it in the next hour.
Lovely. No special talents then that you want to share with us?
No, I spent more time in the water than I thought I could sail. I don't know about special talents. No, I mean, I think my talent is achieving quite a high standard of motorcycling, which has kept me safe. And I suppose just genuine communication skills.
Lovely. Thanks very much. It's nice to get to know Dr. Lane, the person, as well. I'll hand you back to Nina with some service user experience questions.
Yes. This is the stuff we want to know as well.
The nitty gritty.
Yeah, the real stuff. So we've heard a little bit about how you work as part of your role. What is your approach to service users treatments? You've explained a bit about the safety aspect and the managerial aspect. How does it work on a sort of on a client to service user basis?
If you came into me and said, I'm taking 10 blues a day, I need a script, I would probably swear in a nice way.
Yeah.
So it goes down to the safety business again. What we have to do, I don't think service users, I think they're basically fairly honest. And this is just, there's no reason for them not to be. And those that aren't are the ones that you pick up on in the early days and question. And I know that somebody that's taking a certain amount of one substance should either be dead or isn't honest.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of exaggeration. That doesn't go for the majority. The majority of people we see are absolutely superb. So it's listening. It's coming to an agreement to say, okay, we barter, don't we? We agree on a decision that I will put in a suggestion. You will say something that will come back to me, and I'll say, well, why don't we do this? You will say, well, can we do that? And we sort of meet in the middle. So these consultations are not I want you to do. It's about what we agree in both our best interests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the way I prefer to work, and I find that if we get to a compromise, then people will come back.
Right. So that's one of my other questions was your thoughts on service users being an informed part of their own journey. So that kind of covers that, doesn't it? Really.
I think going back years, it was very much here's your script, do as you're told. Now I can't turn around to somebody and say stop using heroin, but I can say I can help you move forward. And this prescriptive idea that you must not do this doesn't work, does it?
No.
No.
And then people turn around to me and say, who the hell are you to tell me that? How do you know?
Yeah.
So it's about having a relationship with the clients, the service user, on almost a personal level, and coming to an agreement that we both find is acceptable. And I find if that happens, we can move people on. And there is always a goal, there is always an aim. And if that's not to come off the script, that's fine, if they've got a quality of life that keeps them well.
That's brilliant. So as part of your role, what do you find to be your biggest challenge? Is it service users or is it management? Is it money?
My biggest challenge is I suppose getting all the work done in a day. Sometimes 8-10 hours. One of the biggest challenges, I think, is I know there are people out there that we are trying to engage. I know they've got problems. It's getting hold of them and actually getting them in. Once I've got them through the door, they will stay with us.
Yeah.
It's that getting them to knock on the door and say, do you know what? I'm ready now. And that is the challenge, is to be able to invite people for them to feel welcome, because there's still a lot of uncertainty about what we do, and that goes back donkey's years, I think. One of the massive successes is the wonderful Doris, which yeah.
I've been on Doris a few times with you, in fact, as it happens.
You have. We have a problem in East Lancs is that we have some quite far-reaching areas with substance misuse problems that we didn't have any clinical sites to see people. So we acquired, in inverted commas, a white van. And the white van is called Doris. This came from a service user who said, call it Doris. Doris was then put down as drug outreach and rehabilitation initiating service, which I thought was pretty clever. And Doris has now been presented nationally as being good practice and innovative. We do everything in Doris that you can do in a clinical setting, including ECGs, prescriptions, injections, the works. And it's made a massive success. To date, it was presented at the National Harm Reduction Forum last year, and there are, I think, 5 similar vehicles, a Doris 1, Doris 2, a Norris, and a couple of others in the Northwest as a result of it, all doing the same work.
It's amazing, absolutely fantastic. Now, my next question was, what's your biggest success? So there you've answered that.
No, I've read it.
Leave me to it. On that note, I'll hand you back over to Dave for some stuff relating to COVID.
Thanks, Nina. Okay, then, around kind of COVID-19 and this rather surreal, strange situation that we found ourselves in for the past 4 months, what has been your response to COVID-19, kind of in regard to changes to like service user experience, things like changes in scripts, prescribing? I would imagine you had quite a big input into how that was going to work.
Okay. When we went into lockdown, a decision was made to put everybody that was on 7 days supervised consumption on a 14-day non-supervised pickup. Now, the rationale for that was that we didn't want our group of clients, who we have to say are vulnerable, being in contact with pharmacy queues, with pharmacists, with other people when they were supposedly locked down. Now, that was a risk because the first day we gave somebody who was on 100 mils a day, 14 days supply, he left 1,400 mils on a bus. Okay. And there were quite, we never saw it again.
Oh my God.
So we had quite a few sleepless nights on what on earth was happening out there on the streets with so much, well, the streets were awash with methadone, weren't they?
Yeah.
Espionage, not so concerned about. And I'll say a bit later on in the questions about the response from the service users to that. But I was absolutely amazed at how well everybody took it on board. And we had visions of coroners knocking on the door and saying, what the hell are you doing? But actually, going right back to my first answer, we were trying very hard to keep people safe.
Yeah.
At the same time, make sure that we weren't increasing the risk of overdose and death. And touch wood, it's been amazing.
Yeah.
Scary, very, very scary. But I think when I look at it now, the change has been to empower people to take responsibility for their own actions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is astonishing because previously you always felt like you were nursemaiding people, but now people on prescriptions, they're adults, they have choices, and they took to it absolutely magnificently, and I'm so proud of them for that.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. We've been making service user assurance calls during this kind of lockdown period, and one of the questions that we were asking was how they were feeling about going on to picking up 14 days at once, and the vast majority were, as you said, adapting to it, and most of them seem to actually be kind of appreciating having that responsibility, being able to kind of be in control.
I have to say that that's part of the feedback I got as well, and I was overwhelmingly humbled by how well people did manage. There were obviously one or two scallywags,
Yeah, no doubt.
And I say that with a smile on my face. There's always going to be one or two people out there that see an opportunity, but that's like, you know, it's not just in substance misuse; it's in any business. But as a whole, it was a very, very scary thing to do. It was, I think the word the politicians use is unprecedented. You know, this has never happened before. And we're now sort of beginning to just look at what we need to do to make sure it was the right decision. Over the past 3 months, I don't know whether you're aware of what we call the MDT. The MDT is a multidisciplinary team meeting where I sit with team leaders, recovery workers, and we case by case go through every single person that's been put on 14 days to look at the other risks. Okay, it's all very well saying here's 1,400 mils of methadone, but by the way, you're drinking a shed load of alcohol.
Yeah.
Or you're still injecting. Or so we had to look at all those and make sure that that decision was safe. We've pretty much done all of it. It's been very, very busy, but we've made a lot of changes where we realised actually that no, we didn't know they were doing this, or we didn't know they were doing that, and we didn't know this family member was living with them. And what we found out was quite extraordinary. All positive though, very little negative, and it allowed us to look at the treatment with a far broader understanding of exactly what's been going on, and looking outside of just having a prescription and taking the medication.
Yeah. So we touched on the kind of the prescribing side for opiates. Obviously, there was kind of a difference in response for drug service users compared to alcohol service users. How did you adapt to that?
Well, the alcohol side of things, going through all these case notes, we realised that almost a third of all our clients on a prescription are potentially alcohol dependent.
Right.
And drug services traditionally haven't really looked at those with opiate and alcohol dependence. So we've had to start doing that, and we've picked up loads of people that are codependent. And so the alcohol side of healthcare is very, very busy. What we've started to do is we've been doing alcohol detoxes virtually. No breath test, no blood test, possibly looking at them from the end of the drive, just to make sure they're not yellow.
Okay.
And we've had some very successful nurse alcohol detoxes without actually seeing the client.
Really?
Now that is absolutely unheard of.
Yeah.
We'll be checking them twice a day, breath tests and everything else. One of our nurses did a reflective account on a virtual detox she did, and that went national. It went to all big bosses for CGL as good practice, interesting practice, and how to do it without actually seeing anybody. It's a bit scary.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So the alcohol's taken off, and it's very interesting at the moment because of the COVID situation. The alcohol incidence has gone up, and I'm sure it probably has with staff as well. Not that they've got a problem, but I think the incidence of alcohol in the home has probably gone up quite a lot.
Yeah, it's not surprising.
It's not surprising for a number of reasons, and I think that we are now that the country's beginning to wake up, seeing a massive increase in alcohol referrals. They're coming back. So not only are they coming back from our reviews of the notes, they're coming in because they've got problems from the community. Yeah,
it's impressive how quickly kind of services adapted. I guess they had to, really.
I think if you talk to anybody, it'd be an absolute roller coaster, and I think we're already a couple of days feet up. But it's tell you what it's done. It's highlighted how well, as a team, the Inspire group in East has rallied around.
Yeah.
The camaraderie, the tears, the laughter, the humour, the sadness. been really quite a very emotional for all of us roller coaster, and yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, nice one. Okay, what's the extra exit strategy? And will the service go back to how it operated pre-COVID, or will you kind of incorporate a lot of the stuff that's been learned over the last 4 months?
This has to be my opinion because
Okay.
I'm sure the head office is going to say this is what we're going to do. It's never going to be back to what as it was. No. It's very interesting that the supervised consumption hasn't really started off again, and yet we have 33% of people unsupervised, and it's made very little difference, which is interesting. I think that the guidelines from nationally, as a prescriber and a medic, I have a Bible which is called the Orange Book. The Orange Book is what has been nationally accepted as being best practice.
Yeah.
And now that the country is waking up, best practice is to give no more than 7 days at once. Now, that isn't in any way negating the benefit of 2 weeks. It's trying to get everything a little bit more in keeping with what is considered to be good practice and safe practice.
I see.
So very slowly, I am bringing people back to 7 days to follow the guideline. That doesn't mean it's going to go back to daily.
Right, okay.
Okay, so there is a move just to try and justify what we're doing by saying, well, this is actually what's recommended as best practice and safe. There's an awful lot of methadone on the streets, and I'm still a little bit concerned about that.
Yeah.
The other thing I think is what we're doing now, virtual consultations, I think are absolutely superb. I love it. I feel like being opposite me here. This is as personal as having you in the same room. And I think that from an efficiency and from a time management, this is very, very good. No longer, I don't think, should we all sort of drive 50 miles to go meet somebody and have a meeting. We can do it this way.
Yeah.
It's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to become quite important. And I think, we've got a few months now, haven't we, before we're ever going to be normal, if we ever are. We've got Blackburn on slightly reduced lockdown, aren't we, at the moment? They're sort of having to be cautious. And if that's going to start happening around, then this is going to go on for a while.
Yeah, so these measures need to be kept in place.
I think this new way of working, it will go back to more face-to-face, and I'm already planning that. But how we do it is going to be a bit different.
Yeah.
I like seeing people. I like to see who I'm talking to, and I don't like giving a prescription to a new client who I don't know visually. I will do, but I didn't expect to see you looking like that. This sort of there is a banter, isn't there?
Yeah.
But I think it'll very slowly open up, but it'll never be as it was before with full set clinics and meetings and what have you.
Okay, and that kind of answers my last question on that section. What will the service look like in 3 months' time? We don't really know.
I think in 3 months it's going to be much the same. I am seeing people face to face, but only if I think it's the right thing to do. Okay, so it's not all virtual. Most of the meetings I am doing virtual because do you know what? I'm sitting in my hall in an armchair and it's actually quite comfy. I've got a kettle in the next room. I can go and have a cup of coffee. I haven't got my car out on my bike. There is something quite relaxing about it.
There are some benefits to it, definitely.
But it doesn't mean that we're not working. The interesting thing is I actually do more work at home.
Yeah.
Which really surprised me. And it's not a holiday in any way at all, but it does mean that you've got some home comforts. But you know what? I'm going into Accrington this afternoon. I'll enjoy that just as much.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. I'm sure they'll enjoy seeing you.
Thank you. That's very kind.
It's true.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. I'll hand you over to Nina.
Thank you. And just for our service users, do you have any message that you'd like to leave our service users with? From Andy Lane, the doctor, and Andy Lane, the man.
I think the doctor and the man are combined because we're all human beings, despite our various changes and alterations in lifestyles. I think we're all just the same. There is no hierarchy. I think some of us have different skills and better skills and worse skills, but at the same time, my message is, as a human being and as a person, having seen how the most vulnerable group of people in the country, in my opinion, have managed with everything that's happened for months, has made me feel really humbled, has made me proud to be part of the whole of East Lancs substance misuse, and that includes the clients. And it's made me realize, actually, that it's not all about the money. It's not all about this and that. This is about people, and it's about survival. And I'm so proud and so happy that everybody's coming out of it all right. And that's over to the clients. They've absolutely amazed me in a positive way.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that, Andy. Thank you.
Me well up now, you know that.
I know. Well, likewise, I've got mascara on here, you know. Thank you for that, Andy. That was absolutely wonderful, really informative. And it's good that service users and the wider community will get to know something about you, what you do, and in turn, what inspired us. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for that.
It's a pleasure.
And, I will see you very soon. Dave, do you want to add anything?
Just really to echo what you said, just thanks for coming on and talking to us, for being honest and open, and just thanks for all you do. And a personal thanks from me from when I saw you, over 18 months ago maybe, and I was so fearful about coming back into services and you taking over my prescribing, but you mentioned it earlier on in the interview about it being a collaboration, and that's kind of what it felt like. It didn't feel like I was being told, you will do this. It was like, what's going to work for you? And we kind of went forward from there, and it was successful. Yeah, exactly. Amazing.
You're looking very well, Dave. Very well indeed. Both of you are, actually.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.